So hello and welcome to an unannounced bonus video here in the Scratching for Controller DJs free training.
Number 4.
And we've got a bit of a confession to make here. We say that we're going to try and answer every single question that people have asked underneath the videos and that, you know, our team are working on that. Well, that's true. But in all honesty, it got a bit overwhelming in there.
Yeah.
I think at last count, nearly 20,000 people had taken part in that free training.
Yeah.
There were hundreds and hundreds of comments, but really the thing that led us to doing this video was realizing that a lot of people were asking the same kind of questions over and over again.
Yeah.
So instead of spending our time kind of typing the same answers and stuff, we thought it'd be nice to gather up some of the biggest questions, which we've typed up here, and answer them in a video.
Yep.
So this is a kind of like really intense video where in just a few minutes you're going to get some of the biggest Scratch questions answered by Steve and myself, mainly by him because he's the one who does this stuff for a living. I just kind of produce it from above. So so maybe I'll play the person who reads the questions out and you can kind of start to answer them. So the first one, can I tell a little story about this first one? Because it's quite an amusing story that I remember.
This was Joseph, yeah.
Yeah, I remembered from 30 years ago. Joseph, anyway, sorry, we'll get to the point. Joseph says, does scratching on controllers break them?
Break the controller.
Does all this stuff break the controller?
Yeah.
It reminded me of when I was in my, I don't know, I only just started big school, so I was very, very young. I'd saved my pocket money and I'd bought a turntable. It was like, remember those old hi-fi systems where the turntable sat on top of all the other bits? And I bought that bit. And I was learning to make mixtapes, and they really were mixtapes because you had to use a cassette player. And this turntable didn't have pitch controls or anything, it was just a turntable. And so I learned how to hold the track just at the first beat and let go of the pause button on the cassette player. And after a lot of practice, I kind of got it right, so I could cut the gaps out but not miss a bit of the track. My dad came in, but bear in mind this took me like weeks, one summer holiday. My dad came in and said, "What are you doing? You're going to break that turntable, and you've spent a lot of money that," well, basically he'd given me, although I'd said I'd saved my pocket money. It's his money, right? You're gonna ruin that." And he was really incredulous, and I was really kind of like inwardly quite upset about this.
Yeah.
I'd mastered a technique. I didn't know what it was called or anything, but that turntable didn't break. So I guess you can guess from my story what Steve's going to say about dedicated DJ controllers.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose the same goes for turntables as well. You can tell people who are DJs from those who aren't, because people who are not DJs, they use the little arm at the back of the deck to lift the tone arm up, and they're being all delicate and moving it across and dropping it down on the record. And of course
they tighten up a bit when it hits the record in case it bounces off.
And DJs, you know, get hold of the needle, drop it on the record, you know, spin it around. So the point is that DJ gear is a lot more durable than you'd imagine. And I suppose, you know, it's natural that if you've saved up and you've spent decent money on a piece of gear, you want to keep it nice, you want to look after it. It's why you buy cases and protectors for it and stuff like that. But it is also designed for a purpose, and it's designed for performance. And the point is, don't be afraid to perform, you know, on your DJ controller. Now with scratching, I suppose what Joseph is probably asking more specifically is the crossfader. You know, crossfaders, old crossfaders could wear out. They used to get a lot of gunk and stuff inside them and have problems with them. More modern crossfaders are much more durable. The main thing is that if you're smashing that crossfader left and right in its little slot and it's banging against the edge, you're basically not doing it right. That's too much aggression anyway, and over time you probably will.
Probably break your fingers as well.
Probably break your fingers as well, yeah. But for normal service of scratching and performing on controllers, you're not going to break them. And like, you know, we're all about encouraging you to actually take charge, get hold of the jog wheel, get hold of the crossfader, you know, have some fun with it. So, don't know, you're not going to break it.
You know, we've had, I don't know, at least 300 DJ controllers through here in nearly a decade, and I've never seen jog wheels break, and I think I can count on one finger how many times I've seen a crossfader break. And this is like everything down to really cheap controllers.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's really not going to go wrong, Joseph.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is a question actually about the full Scratching for Controller DJs training.
Yeah.
So lots of people ask this. They said, how long will it take me to learn to scratch on this course? And will your course put too much pressure on me to advance quickly? Stephen.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, and you know, it's each step of the course, well, it's released step by step, and the techniques are in very kind of small bite-sized chunks that you need to learn each technique first before you move on to any others. And in truth, it can take different people different amounts of time to learn and master each one of those techniques. And I think a lot of practice sessions are held back and they're not enjoyable and they're frustrating because you think you should be advancing faster than you are, and it can actually cause you to be more tense, more frustrated, and help and actually cause you to take longer to learn it. So we actually cater for everyone at whatever speed they learn at. So it's not like you're part of a group and you're going to get left behind. I help people in the course at the stage that they're at the speed that they're able to learn at, and make sure that that they overcome any issues as they're going along. In terms of how long it would take, well, we've had people blast through the course who have been fortunate enough to be able to spend hours and hours a day practicing, maybe not got a full-time job and they could just dedicate to it. I mean, in the space of 6 to 8 weeks, people became proficient at scratching. And then we've got people who took the course a couple of years ago who are still dipping in and out of it, learning stuff as they go along. So there's no fixed length of time. As long as you're continuing to have fun and make progress, I think that's the aim, really.
I think the truth is, the way the course is structured, you will make progress, you'll make it quickly, and you'll see that progress.
Yeah.
So although you might not master everything in the course, and it does go to to DMC standard,
Yeah.
you will see enough progress to be kind of enjoying the process and not worrying about that.
Exactly.
Okay, so the next one is from Jorge. He says, I really can't seem to get my two hands to do what I want them to. I can't get the coordination. That's it, basically. How do you know? I could do that and I can do that, but can I do them both at once without one? It's weird, isn't it? It's not something we...
Yeah, it's as we covered in one of the earlier videos. It's being able to do this one thing with one hand and the other with the other, and we covered this in video 3. You have to learn the techniques separately, learning each individual hand separately. And Jorge, you're probably one of many people who have tried to learn yourself, so you've picked up bad habits. It's like people who kind of teach themselves to play golf, for example, and then they find that they're terrible at it and they have to go and have lessons and kind of unlearn all of that stuff in order to get the basics right. And the basics of learning how to have good coordination between your hands in scratching are to learn techniques separately. So jog wheel on one hand, crossfader on the other, learn those separately, make them second nature, then start to combine them. If you didn't catch that in video 3, make sure you head there while you can still see it and check that out.
Good, thank you. Right, here's this is from Gemma. Nice to see some girls asking questions here.
Yeah.
So Gemma says, this is about the course again. I don't have time to start this right now. Family commitments and stuff. I know about that one.
Yep.
Can I jump on the course in the future? Steve?
Yeah, so let's just define what jump on the course means. We only open the course for registration for a short period each year, so it's going to be open for a few days. So you can jump on the course in terms of registering for it during that time. But once you're a member and you've got your login, then you can actually start to take the training whenever you want. You don't have to immediately be getting into it and following along week by week as the modules release and putting all that time into it. If you're not ready to do that now, then you don't have to. You can start whenever you want, and I'm there, and our other support guys are there helping people at all different stages of the course whenever it suits them. So jump on board now, grab your place, but then take the training when you like.
Yeah, so if you want to be a 2017 student of this course, you do have to jump on board now,
Yep.
but you don't have to start now. If you want to start any point between now and this time in at least a year from now, in other words, if you want to start soonish, then you've got to get on board now, and then it's up to you to start when your family and so on allows you to. Okay, so Keith, I have trouble with my technique. I practice and I'm still having trouble. It's so frustrating. I'm looking for advice on how to maybe practice better. We all know this one. You do the same thing over and over again and you don't seem to be getting anywhere. You seem to have hit a ceiling.
Well, I think but my experience tells that with scratching, it's actually part of the reason people struggle is that they're not doing the same thing over and over again. I teach what's called deliberate practice. It's called deliberate practice. So what can happen with scratching is when you've got like a few little techniques under your belt, it's great fun to just get a beat playing, start doing some scratches and start freestyling. And then you actually forget that you're supposed to be practicing a particular technique and you basically default to ones that you know or you're more comfortable with or you've practiced before. And then you end up doing that because it's fun. And the problem with that is that you're not making any progress on the things that you need help with. So deliberate practice is really important. So that would be saying, right, okay, what I want to do today is my crossfader drills. I want to be able to get to 80%, 80% strike rate, so that 8 out of 10 times when I do this pattern, it sounds perfect. And I'm going to continue doing just that until I get there. And then even when I get there, I'm going to continue doing it for another 20 minutes so that you get that muscle memory. Then when you move on to start combining that with other stuff, then that muscle memory is there. And you've done that practice. So it's deliberate practice of specific things. Set an outcome, set a technique that you want to nail by the end of the week and work on only that.
Interesting stuff, and anyone who's ever learned an instrument will know this as well.
Yeah.
You can't just, especially guitar's a good one, because a lot of people who play guitar do it because they love music and they love pop music and they love bands, and so you learn 3 chords and then you kind of stop because you can do so much with those 3 chords, but then you hit that ceiling where you need someone to take you by the hand and move you through the rest of the techniques that you're missing, because it's so much fun, right?
Yeah.
And actually the course does that. It's broken down into very, very small, very carefully planned modules and lessons that make sure that doesn't happen. So, okay, so the next question is, lots of you have asked, where do I get scratch sounds from? The wikis and the ahs and all the sounds that it's the same lot that most people use, right? We covered that in the...
Yeah. Well, obviously we've given some away to you guys in this free training, and in the full course there are hundreds of scratch sounds as well. But if you want to seek them out for yourself, you can actually buy them. So the Beatports and other online retailers have got sections which are called DJ tools, and they'll have acapellas in there, but they'll also have scratch samples, and they call them scratch sentences. You should check out stuff from DJ Qbert on his Thud Rumble label, and also P-Bird as well, DJ P-Bird, which is P-E-A-B-I-R-D. Great stuff from those guys. But yeah, Beatport and the other places where you would buy other types of music are the places where you can buy and get hold of scratch sounds. And of course, people host them online. SoundCloud, as we're recording today, is still out there and still a good place to find stuff. So you can search around and find them.
But also, don't be scared to use sounds off your own music. There's nothing wrong with scratching with stuff that you find. You think, oh, that might be good. You don't lose anything by trying. And you can even go even further, but you can do that within the course, because there's a bonus course that teaches you how to go further, how to take stuff from your own courses, from your own records, and turn them into these kind of sets. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going on a bit, but what I want you to get is the confidence to not think there's something sacred about scratch sounds. At the end of the day, they've all been taken from records, just like you're doing. If you look at your own collection and say, I like the sound of that one, so there's nothing wrong with that. Especially with acapellas and stuff, of course. There might be a word in a song you like, and
well, even riffs. If you look at a lot of the big scratch DJs, even DJ AM with his famous Wonderwall routine. He didn't find Wonderwall.
YouTube it.
He didn't find Wonderwall in the DJ tools section of Beatport. He just started scratching with it and thought that sounded cool, and then made a routine with it. So, yeah. Cool.
Okay. So another question about the course here. Quite a few of you have asked about the cost of the course. You wrote that bit, didn't you? So, Steve, cost of the course.
Yeah, so tomorrow we're going to give you a full information video about the course, much more detail about everything that's included. Also an incredible bonus package of supporting courses and supporting help to make sure that you get the results from the course. You're going to get all that information tomorrow and all the pricing information as well. But just wanted to let you know that there's actually a payment plan. So we want to make sure that this is affordable to as many of you as possible. So there's a payment plan that we've put in place, so make sure you check out the information when we get it to you tomorrow. And if you're not on our email list, then sign up below, make sure you're on the list, and we'll email you with the details.
That's almost theatrical, that. Leaving something open so people have to come back tomorrow. I like it. So here's one from Spencer and lots of others. Spencer says, it doesn't annoy me when I see this question, but am I too old to learn to scratch? So come on. We don't even know how old Spencer is. Well, maybe you remember, but I guess it doesn't really matter.
I think I do remember his Facebook profile picture, actually, so he definitely qualifies. But I suppose people would expect us to say, oh yeah, of course they're going to say you're never too old. But I'm saying you're never too old on the basis of experience of having taught so many hundreds of students in this course. There's so many people that have taken this course who are, were DJing when they were in their 20s, their family life took over, they kind of, other priorities in their life. They've come to a point in life now where they're like, I I really loved DJing, and they get some digital gear, and I always wish I could learn how to scratch. I'm a bit the same with breakdancing, to be honest with you. I've still got the desire that I want to learn to do a windmill, but
you're not actually helping your argument here.
But
as long as your fingers move and your ears still work, there's absolutely no reason why. We're not. If you want to win a DMC competition, you can certainly do it at any age. It doesn't matter how old you are. But if you want a full career as a superstar DJ and you're 65, come on, you're probably not going to have that. It doesn't mean you can't learn to scratch to the standard that you've always dreamed of learning to scratch to. We're saying be realistic, but also keep an open mind here. As long as you've still got your faculties.
Yeah, I'd say
running a sub 2 hour marathon or something. It's scratching. As long as your things work and your ears listen, you're all right. Seriously, though.
I'll finish up by saying I reckon about 30% of our scratch students are people who've come back to it. They're in over 40s, wanting to learn this skill, having great fun with it. And I love teaching people of all ages this skill. So no, you're not too old.
And also, you're not going to think you're the old guy in the room or girl in the room when you come into the course and you're chatting to all the students.
Me.
That's true. The teachers are allowed to be a bit older, though, aren't they?
Yeah, I suppose so.
But there's a whole mix of people in there, from teenagers up to retirees, frankly. So don't worry about that. So Jermaine, if I am making a mix with scratching and blending between songs, should I be changing my crossfader curve as I go along? Oh, it's a technical one. Should we explain the crossfader curve?
Yeah, I'll do that. And it's also, this wasn't just Jermaine actually. This came up quite a lot. So when we were teaching in video 2 about the settings in your software or hardware to make sure that your crossfader curve, which is the amount of travel that your crossfader needs to make to go between 0 and 100% of volume, to be as short as possible, which has settings called scratch or cut or short, depending on your software. People were saying, okay, so if I set that to the scratch setting, what about if I want to do some scratching in a set, but also in a set I might want to do some nice smooth blend mixing, where you would need the crossfader curve to be set to the more smooth setting. So if you've got a controller or a mixer that gives you the opportunity to switch that, i.e. actually on the hardware itself, so you can switch whenever you want, then great. If not, and it's only in the software, you don't really want to be diving in and out of the software each time you want to change the crossfader curve. So what I would recommend is leave your crossfader set to sharp, so that when you come to want to do some scratching, you can use your crossfader, but learn to mix blend style using only the vertical faders. Now, a lot of people learn to mix just using the crossfader, but for me, I think it's a great way of mixing, blending using the vertical faders. Gives you more control, sounds smoother, and then it gives you the option to do scratching when you want to and smooth blend mixing when you want to.
And also, for a lot of DJs of a certain age, crossfaders didn't exist. We had to learn on mixers that only had these up faders. So nowadays, if you're a DJ who thinks every mix you do has to be on the crossfader, you kind of got some faders there that are being pretty largely underutilized. So it's good practice anyway to get into to get into that kind of method of mixing, and certainly to have it there, even if you're not going to be scratching with the crossfader. As Steve says, you get more control, and you're kind of paying your respects more to the way the gear you're using has been made. It's been made for you to do it like that. It's just kind of like got lost a little bit. So a few of you have asked, can I learn to scratch if I've never even DJ'd before? Never DJ'd, don't know anything about it, don't know what it is. I know you're meant to do stuff, but I don't know where to start. Can I learn to scratch?
Yeah, I mean, why not? You're going to need to read the manual. If you've got yourself some gear and some software and you figured out how to get the music in it, and you can get tracks on decks and you can play them, and you understand how to set a cue point. They're the very, very basics of being able to, just perform the basics on a DJ controller or DJ gear. That's really all you need to be able to do, certainly to take the lessons that we've got in the course, or to learn how to scratch. And then in terms of all the other stuff about DJing, set structure, mixing, performing, all that other kind of stuff, that can come later down the line. You can just have fun learning to scratch.
There's no real order in order to...
In fact, thinking about it, that's the order I did it in. I was so impressed with scratching on early hip hop music that's the thing I was setting out to do to begin with. And I never did this in public. I only did it in my bedroom, and it was only in later years that I actually started to learn how to, put right tracks in order with each other and play to a crowd and that kind of stuff. So yeah, if I can do it, why not?
Yeah, good. And let's be honest, we've had lots of students who come through who have not, who've not that's their first experience of DJing.
Yeah.
So a lot of people scratching is DJing. It's kind of like, this is what it's all about. So why not learn that from the beginning?
Yeah.
So here's another question along the same lines, really. Ellie says, can you learn to scratch if you've never touched a piece of vinyl? That's a really good question because people think it's a vinyl technique. So can you?
Yeah, I mean, again, we've had lots and lots of students who've learnt this way. They've either never DJ'd before or certainly never touched vinyl before.
I think more people watching this could put their hand up and say, no, I've never touched vinyl before than never DJ'd. Probably most people watching this, actually.
Yeah.
So,
and actually, you've got an advantage there because, again, it's that kind of bad habits thing. You're not bringing any, not saying learning on vinyl is a bad habit, but you would have, if you had scratched on vinyl before, there's a way that it feels and a kind of length of movement of your hands, which is very, very different to controllers. And so there's going to be a period of adjustment but in learning on controllers. If you're learning straight off the bat from controller with your controller that you're used to, then you're going to learn those techniques on that jog wheel with that crossfader, and you're going to make it work for you. And it kind of doesn't matter whether you've ever touched vinyl before. It's there's not much difference in the techniques. The hand movements are the same, both on the jog wheel and the crossfader, and the coordination and the rhythm that you need is the same. But, I'd sort of flip it the other way, that actually once you've learnt on your controller, then you've got the tools to be able to play on pretty much any other gear, whether it's CDJs or vinyl, because you've got the techniques. There will always be a period of adjustment, but no, it doesn't matter which way round you come from.
I guess it's the same kind of thing as saying, does it matter if you learn to drive on a decades-old car that's got all old-fashioned controls, or if you learn to drive on a modern car which has got power steering and modern modern stuff? Yes, it does matter. It is different. It isn't going to feel the same. But can you then get into the other vehicle and drive the same? Yeah, it'll take you a little while to get used to it. But
I think a lot of people bring this. There's a lot of people out there saying, if you want to learn to DJ, do it on vinyl. It's like,
generally the people saying that are the people who haven't learned to do it, or they have learned, it's taken them forever and they can only do it one way.
Yeah.
And so they do not want you coming up and proving that it's just as much fun and just as impressive to do it any way that's very slightly different to the way either they've watched people do it some other time in their lives or that they've battled to do themselves. So to me that's always a warning sign when someone starts saying, oh no, you've got to do it with this and that. It's kind of, no, I haven't. Next. Brilliant. Okay, well, I think we've gone over a bit there. That was meant to be 10 minutes. I'm going to suspect that was a bit longer, but we have covered most of the main ones there.
Good. It's always fun answering questions, helping you guys out.
I hope they've been useful.
Yep.
To close?
So to close, these videos, these free videos are going to be here for just a couple of days longer. So if you want to refresh, go through them all again, watch them again, please do. Ask any more questions that might have occurred to you throughout this video below here.
We're going to have to answer those because there's no other roundup.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
And as I said, within the next 24 to 48 hours, you'll get all the details that you need about the full Scratching for Controller DJs course for 2017, which is opening for enrolment soon. It'll be open for a few days, and it'd really be great to see you there if you want to join us.
Jump on it. Thanks for watching. Till next time.
Thanks. Bye.